The administration confirms that enforcement will be paused while the deal finalizes. Oracle and Silver Lake are among the investors, though the full list is still being finalized. Officials say it will include a mix of U.S. and global firms. Oracle will provide security and be allowed to study TikTok's algorithm. The U.S. government will not take equity, appoint board members, or seek a golden share. Trump has made clear that he wants patriotic investors who bring long-term value. Officials estimate the deal could generate hundreds of billions in economic activity over the next 5 years. Now, for this discussion, we are joined by William Yang. He's an analyst at International Crisis Group, joins us live from Taipei. Thank you very much, William, for joining us again. Good to see you. Now, what are the potential economic and geopolitical implications of involving a mix of U.S. and global investors in the TikTok deal under this new 2024 law?
I believe the decision to include also global firms is probably a compromise that both the Chinese and the American side reached ultimately, because I think we need to remember that from the Chinese perspective, giving the U.S. complete control over the fate and the algorithm and the core of TikTok is not really acceptable based on the Chinese law, which is exactly what the Chinese Commerce Ministry laid out in one of their latest statements over the weekend. So I believe that by including global investors to be involved with the future operation and the managing of TikTok is, from the Chinese perspective, a acceptable solution. And from the U.S. perspective, they can guarantee that the American investors that are going to be involved in the operation of TikTok will likely play the main role of managing the future direction of this app going forward.
And William, how might allowing Oracle to study TikTok's algorithm address U.S.'s national security concerns without requiring government control?
So I think we all know that Oracle's founder has a very close relationship with Donald Trump. And at the same time, Oracle does have a sizable operation inside China. So for a company like Oracle to play a role in studying the Chinese algorithm based on the White House official's statement would, in fact, I think, be an acceptable solution for both the American side and the Chinese side, because I think from the Trump White House perspective, by involving a company that has a deep personal relationship with President Trump himself, then that, I think, adds a layer of comfort, but also trust between the president himself and also the larger congressional, environment, and also the group that are likely going to have potential concerns. And I think at the same time, for the Chinese side, Oracle is, I think, a company that they trust enough that they believe sharing more sensitive data from like the algorithm that is behind TikTok is not going to completely harm their interest as well. So I think, again, this reflects the outcome of a consensus that both sides are able to reach. And I think it, in fact, is probably going to help inject some positive momentum into the overall larger bilateral trade negotiation and engagement going forward.
And building on your answer that U.S. government seems to trust Oracle in large, does this U.S. government's handling of the TikTok sale reflect a fair and consistent approach to foreign-owned tech companies, or does it set a precedent for politically motivated intervention in private businesses?
I wouldn't say intervention is the right word. I would say clearly when it comes to foreign acquisition, especially if it involves a very important Chinese company, then there would certainly be a layer of preference based on the specific company's owner's personal relationship with President Trump, and that would probably be an important factor for the administration to determine which companies would fit the profile of a ideal candidate to actually play important roles in acquiring or taking over the main ownership of operation of a Chinese company that might uh, be similar to the case of TikTok going forward.
American companies' access to TikTok's algorithm without taking accountability. Is the U.S. prioritizing economic interests over genuine national security concerns? What do you think?
That is definitely very clear. I think from the ongoing trade negotiation to the particular details that have emerged from the TikTok case, we can all see that President Trump personally believes that business and economic interests should be prioritized in any major trade negotiations, and national security concerns or considerations shouldn't come in the way of his government trying to sign or reach landmark or important trade or economic deals from their perspective.
Right. Thank you very much, William, for joining us today and sharing your insight as an analyst at International Crisis Group. Now we move on to our next news. Northwestern Italy is facing heavy flooding as autumn storms battered the region. An orange alert was issued yesterday for parts of Lombardy and Liguria, with torrential rains hitting Milan since last night. Up to 80 millimeters of rain fell in Paderno, Dugnano, causing the Seveso River to overflow and flood neighborhoods in northern Milan. The Lambro River is also at dangerous levels, and water has emerged from manholes on key roads, prompting installation of flood barriers. The Bormida Valley experienced landslides and flooding, leading to school closures throughout Liguria, except in Imperia. Floods have even reached the Palace of Justice in Milan, forcing power cuts and suspension of all activities. Milan Civil Protection Councillor Marco Granelli has urged residents to exercise maximum caution. Firefighters have responded to over 70 emergencies since the storm began, working to secure